My name is Melissa Fletcher, and I am the Director of Disability Services at Macalester. And I like to say that I am entering my junior year. I have been here now for coming into my third year. And previous to this, I worked at public spaces, private spaces, K through 12, 0 through 3, educational places. But I really like to work with college students, and I think that Macalester is really an extraordinary place. So I'm glad to welcome you and your students and parents, and what I want to share with you today is just some ideas about how to make the transition better, and especially as we talk about students with disabilities on campus. Currently on our campus, as you know, and in our community at large, we're experiencing really two pandemics, and you'll hear this again and again. And one of them is really, of course, the pandemic of COVID-19, which can affect our students with disabilities who have significant health issues. And also secondarily, we have the pandemic of systemic racism, which can also affect our community members, our students who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And for our students, sometimes this affects both of them at the same time. And what I like to say is that they have two balls in the air that they're juggling in terms of which pandemic that they have to be dealing with. And although this can be difficult for students and for parents and for staff and faculty who are working with our students, it also is an opportunity in terms of how we think about access and how we look at real change. And Macalester is also a space that does that as well. And part of this change that we have is really about equity. So how do we navigate those new things? How do we navigate things that might be unknown to us? And how do we really think about equal access? And that's part of the work that our office does. And we're going to invite you as parents to do that work with us as well. So there are some things to know. And when I work with parents with students with disabilities, I often say that students with disabilities have additional things that they need to navigate, whether that is going to doctor's appointments or working with faculty or working with staff or taking some additional time for things. And that's also true for students without disabilities, as we currently come into this fall as well. So I want you to think about two ways that you know your student. And the first one is Know Your Student Part 1. And that is when you get a late night call and your student is concerned about something and you want to help them really figure out how to navigate the next step, is to think about how are you going to help them problem solve for themselves. So is there somebody that they can look up a resource or contact? Or is there a way that you can listen through and help them problem solve for themselves what might be the next step that they need to take? Secondly, Know Your Student Part 2. So what that means is there are times also that your student may have particular situations that feel like it's out of the ordinary for them, that they're behaving in a way that might be extraordinary for them, that they may not be responding to your outreach, that they might be in distress, that there might be things for them that you know are outside of the norm, or that you give them recommendations or that they're not following up on their own problem solving. And that's the time to give somebody on our campus a call, whether it's the Office of Student Affairs, it might be an advisor, it might be residential life. And we have folks on our campus that can get involved and also engage with your student and make sure, first of all, that they're safe, but also secondarily, help them figure out how to navigate the next step for themselves. So what I tell parents is to make sure that you have a plan A, that you have a plan B, that you have a plan C, and a plan D. So as we experienced last year, what if a student would have to move off the campus? What would you do in that scenario? And make sure that your student is involved in that problem solving as well. Make sure also that they know about things like how to connect with people on campus. So are they participating with other students, with other groups, with other faculty members, and make sure that they understand how to maintain those connections even from a distance if they need to do that. Students with disabilities, as I said, they also have to navigate a lot of different pieces, but this really applies to all of our students on campus too as we come into this fall semester. So I like to think of our students with disabilities like the door actuators that you see on campus where you push the button and the door is open, and then that provides access to everybody. The same is true through disability services, that both the access that we are providing, whether that be remote access for classes or helping students get connected to other people on campus in different ways, we really have an opportunity here to explore different types of access that apply to all of our students. So I want you as a parent, whether you have a student with a disability or not, to think about just a few things. The first one is time management for students. When they are new to a space, or when they're coming from either high school or maybe they're coming from a gap year, time may have been managed for them without them having to consider that a lot on their own. And now students do have to manage their own time. And that can be a pretty big transition for them to start with. The second thing is self-balance. So really learning how to balance those things and take care of yourselves, especially if you're in a time that there's a lot of things that you have to do, maybe students who might be involved in a lot of clubs or activities. Students with disabilities also have to make sure that they're managing those self pieces on their own, and this applies to all students as well. So students with disabilities, they often have to navigate more things, like maybe doctor's appointments, that they have to self-advocate with faculty or interact with staff more. And this is true for other students as well. So helping your student learn how to navigate those pieces on their own is a really important thing to do, and a lesson that we learn in our office all of the time and help our students work with too. The last one that's important is really self-advocacy. So again, we're raising young adults, and so think about those pieces of where can your student figure out how to advocate for themselves, whether it be with a faculty member about a class, or how to pick up the phone and find out something about what they want to do, or even resolve a process or a concern. Or, as we all know, that sometimes we have conflicts with people, so how to resolve something with a roommate. All of those pieces are really important in terms of self-advocacy. So what can parents do to help? This is a question that I actually get often. And although I've been in this field for a really long time, there are some things that don't change. And these are a few of them that I think are pretty consistent, and even in this year of the unknown. First of all is to really respect your students' confidentiality. So I often find that students will come into my space and the first thing that they will say is, my mom and dad told me to do X, Y, and Z. So understand that your voice still really matters for students, but there are also times that they might want to keep things a little bit more private, and they also have the right to do that. So it's important to know where that line is in terms of confidentiality for students. You can call us and tell us things that might be going on, but understand that we can't always report back. And oftentimes I want students to be involved in that process too. So I may say, I'm going to give a student a call, check on them, make sure that they're okay, but I need to let them know that you've also contacted us. Secondarily, again, help your student problem solve. So students walk around with this little thing that they have. It's called a phone. If only I had a device that would kind of give me information on what to do next. Really help them figure out the next steps that they need to take, or the next person that they need to contact on their own. Because I assure you that that's what we really want to do, is we want to hear from the student directly. And then the last thing is to encourage connection, especially this year. Through our office, that we have a variety of resources that I'll talk about in a minute that we can help your student feel connected. But also, we're making great strides to make sure that your students feel welcome in whatever spaces that they might be on. We like to say that we're physically distant, but we're not emotionally distant from your student. And what you can do as a parent, especially this year, is to help encourage your students to be connected in ways, whether it's online or whether it's going to events that are physically distant, to make sure that they maintain that connection. What specifically does Disability Services do? We do a lot of things. And of course, in our name is services. But we don't only just do things that are like accommodations. I wish that we had a motto that says disability services isn't just about accommodations. We have a wide variety of things that we want to do to support our students' learning. And the first, of course, is things like access or accommodations. And your student can come to us even if you're not really sure if they might have a disability piece, they might be struggling, or if you know that they maybe have a 504 plan or an IEP plan from high school, or you just want more information and more resources. Please have your student come and meet with us, and we can talk through what might be reasonable accommodations for them or refer them to other resources. Second is really advocacy. And not only do we do advocacy for things like equal access on campus, so looking at physical access spaces, but also advocacy for students in terms of access to courses if they need it, or if they might be struggling with something with a faculty member or with another program, we can assist a student with those pieces of advocacy, and self-advocacy is part of that. The third one is education. So we do a lot of different educational events during the year. We might bring in speakers, we might have movie times, we might have just spaces where we can provide information on specific topics like mental health, mental wellness, mental illness, attention deficit disorder, pieces like that that can help students become a little bit more familiar either with their disability pieces or learn something broader in the world. And right now, we have the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, so we have some great events that will be planned this year as well. The fourth piece, which is also really important this year, is inclusion. So we take a look at disability not as just a piece of how we do accommodations, but also, how do we make sure that individuals with disabilities in our community and here at Macalester are part of diversity and inclusion initiatives? So what I like to say is, instead of building a house and trying to shim the house, what we're trying to do is to build a better house. So those things like looking at universal design for learning. Our students are really involved with this. Every year we have something that's called Radical Mac Access, and that event is really to shine a light on disability pieces and also figure out how can we make our environment more inclusive in general. And our students are strong advocates for it, and they really love that event and get really involved with it. And the last thing to know is, of course, about connection. And as I said before, that's a really important thing for us this year, is to ensure that students feel connected to campus and to us. We have a variety of groups on campus. So we have a group that is called Voices of Mental Health that we support. We have a group specifically for students with autism on campus that's called MAC. We have a group of students with ADHD. This year we have a peer mentoring group, which is the first of its kind at Macalester. So to pair incoming students with disabilities with students who are upper class in order to make sure that they've got support in navigating accommodations or navigating just campus as a whole. We're really excited about that. And then we also have the opportunity for students to just meet bi-weekly, that we have a group that gets together that will be virtual this year, so students can have a voice about access needs or about anything that they really think related to disability services in our office. And the last thing to know is that we're here for you too. So if you have a concern, if you have a question, please feel free to call us. We're happy to talk with you about helping navigating things for your students, or secondarily just giving you some general resources and ideas, not only at Macalester but within the community. We're really excited to have your students here this fall. It's the reason that we do the work that we do, and we love it. And although this fall is going to look different for us, I think we also see this as a great opportunity to expand, to engage, to think about access as a whole, and we welcome you and your students this fall.